Well, right around that time, I started to do some animation, and that's another big break that I received right in that time frame. I again sent out cassettes, and whether it was an agent or myself, one landed on the desk of a man named by the name of Paul DeCourt, who turned out to be one of my champions. Paul DeCourt, I sent him, I sent him some theme park music, and who knew that doing these, and some of it was rather large in scope. By then, now I had done a lot of theme park music, a lot of Epcot music, which is kind of big, and he heard my tape and wanted me to come in for a meeting. So I came in for a meeting. Met this
What
guy.
studio was this?
This is Hanna Barbera. Sorry, I should have said that. So now I'm at Hanna Barbera, and I meet this wonderful gentleman by the name of Paul DeCourt, who was the head of music. And he said, and literally this was even a couple steps before Fame. I don't think I'd done Fame yet. So I think that this show, Dragon's Lair was the name of it. Dragon's Lair. There was a famous video game. This was a show based on the video game. Paul DeCourt liked what he heard, and he gave me this show. And it was shocking because they wanted sort of a John Williams type thing, sound, and they wanted it, every show scored specifically. So there were probably, maybe eight or nine, or maybe there were 13, probably 13. And we scored every single one of those. And I was given this gift of writing this stuff, and that was very big and ambitious and silly, and I think I overwrote. I mean, when I listen back to it, I'm like, wow. And even the music editor once told me, she goes, your music's amazing, but it's really hard to cut. She goes, and I felt terrible, and she goes, but don't worry, John Williams is hard to cut too. I went, oh, okay. So but anyway, so Dragon's Lair, and then probably Fame right after that.
Was writing for animation different? Did it require any kind of different technique or style?
Absolutely did. And interestingly enough, each studio had its own sound. Hanna Barbera, of course, is the Hoyt Curtin sound.
Right, sort of the home of the
The
Flintstones.
home of the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And so I had done my show, or was doing my show, and I'll never forget, one day I was over at Hanna Barbera, and this guy walks into Paul DeCourt's office, and it's a big, tall guy. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Big guy, really loud. Hoyt Curtin. And so Paul introduced, oh, John, this is Hoyt Curtin. Hey, kid, how are you? A big, full of life bear of a guy. And met him. And then as I was finishing my Dragon's Lair thing, I don't know why, one day.
We should say who Hoyt Curtin was.
Well, Hoyt Curtin is the genius of all geniuses. I mean, he wrote Jetsons, Flintstones, every Hanna-Barbera show that was ever, the Smurfs, Pound Puppy. I'm forgetting half of them. But he is the genius, and he created that sound. He created the Hanna-Barbera sound. And perfect example is Flintstones or Jetsons. It's sort of a jazzy, pseudo-classical, but kind of with a wink, thing. Met Hoyt Curtin, and then one day I get a call. It's Hoyt. Hey, Big John, how busy are you? That's the way he used to talk to me. And I'm like 27 years old or whatever I was then. I go, hey, Hoyt, never too busy for you. What's up? Hey, you think you can handle 20 minutes of Smurfs? This is on like a Friday night. Sure, Hoyt. When do you record? Monday morning at 8. So I go, yeah, sure. So it was crazy, wonderful, panic time. And I remember doing a couple things for Hoyt, and then he kind of liked what I did. And then I became a team member of the Hoyt Curtin thing at Hanna-Barbera. And we ended up doing, my goodness, I did Scooby-Doo. I did A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which is the spinoff. I did a lot of things for Hoyt and for Hanna-Barbera and Paul DeCourt. And Hoyt was just one of my favorite characters that I've ever met. Hoyt used to have, he had a whole vocabulary of descriptions of music that you had to learn. And I remember the first session I went to, there'd be a wrong note in some chord that somebody had written. And he'd go, that's a real prober right there. It's a prober. And I turn and go, what's a prober? It means there's a wrong note. It's probing to find the right note. So he changed that. But he was just magnificent, because he would take a piece of music like that was a minute long, and he'd go, okay, guys, let's go from bar 1 to bar 5. We're going to put a hold on that. And the band had been working with him for 25 years. So they were like, yeah. And he'd go, and they do a hold, and then they do a flare out to commercial. They do a hold, come down. They do a button. These are all like animated. Since you're asking about animation, you're getting the tutorial now. There was a whole process building these libraries of music. And Hoyt Curtin was, again, one of my favorite characters of all time. Last Hoyt Curtin story, he used to have a driver. And so we'd go to breakfast, and the driver would bring him over to Denny's or wherever. And I asked somebody one day, I go, Hoyt doesn't drive. He goes, oh, no, Hoyt doesn't drive. And I go, oh, does he just not like to drive? And they go, well, no, he's so rich, he doesn't have to drive. And I go, oh, and I assumed it was because he had created such an amazing volume of music. He invented a little diddly bob, like, I don't know what it is to this day. Someone will know out there. It was a little plastic coupler that did something, and he made millions of dollars on it. So he was like an inventor. So he did the music thing for fun. He was just having a ball. He made his big money on that doohickey. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Wow.
Hoyt just does it because he enjoys it, which is cool.